Hello everyone, this is Mikoy and welcome back to another tier list video. Today we're going to be tackling the Pokemon movies. That is right, I have only seen a bare minimum of Pokemon movies as a kid, just like most people, but I've went ahead and watched them all accordingly. It took me some time, but I finally got to watching every single Pokemon movie because I believe Pokemon is just dead in making movies nowadays. So, it is time to look back at all 24 of these movies and see where would I rank them accordingly. As you can see, I got my normal tier system here. And so let's get to ranking these movies, shall we? So first off, we got Pokemon the first movie. This is a classic among classics for Gen 1ers and traditional nostalgic Pokemon fans. I personally find it okay. As the modern Pokemon fan in me says that it is a B tier movie, maybe an A tier movie. You know what? I'll rank it at A tier because I still find this movie enjoyable. It is a classic for very very obvious reasons, and Pokemon the first movie really capitalized on a lot of interesting moments and just the backstory of Mewtwo's character was very very well done. It's a very memorable backstory for Mewtwo. The tradition in all these Pokemon movies is that the mythicals kind of suck. That is my hot take. Like the mythicals are just so annoying, and Mew was the founding father of the annoying mythical Pokemon trope, and we're gonna be seeing that a lot in these future movies. But Mew was still like relatively playful enough, very charming, very adorable enough to basically carry this movie and the fight itself with Mewtwo at the end. Also, there's going to be spoilers for this movie, can't you tell from the tone I'm talking about? But yeah, I really enjoyed Pokemon the first movie. I would probably put it as more of a B plus, but I'm leaning more towards A for now. Next up is Pokemon the movie 2000, the one with Lugia and the three legendary birds from Kanto. Now, I think this movie is much better than the first movie, personally, and I think this is solid A tier. Ash does feel kind of shoehorned in, like with most Pokemon movies. Ash and friends are always shoehorned in, but this one, I feel like Ash did have serve a purpose in saving these legendary birds in order to, quell the Lugia from destroying the world. And so, yeah, Pokemon movie 2000 is kind of memorable to me. It has some memorable fights. It has some memorable Pokemon, especially that Slowking. So, um, I really like this movie. From an enjoyable perspective, I think Pokemon the movie 2000 is much more enjoyable than Pokemon the first movie, but I can still see its merits as a movie itself. It is a proper sequel, I think personally, but I really enjoyed Pokemon movie 2000. It is just a fun movie overall. Next up is Pokemon movie 3, Spell of the Unknown. Now, this one is of the original trilogy, I find this one to be the best one. This one is of the best well told story because it directly involves Ash's mother, Delia, who has to babysit Molly Hale because she was been brainwashed by this Entei who thinks that who thinks that he is her dad. So basically, the logically doesn't make sense. How would an Entei and a human uh, bring together and form themselves Molly? That doesn't make sense. But the movie itself is so much fun. Like the characters are really well told. The story is the best out of the original trilogy. I love every single moment of it. Ash really has a defining purpose as well. And the only nitpick I really have is that the unknown serve no purpose. Despite being portrayed as this sort of mythical, legendary Pokemon, they serve really no purpose to this movie. It's just they're kind of like just there to activate some sort of spell, and then nothing happens. So that probably brings it down from being an S tier, but I'm still gonna put it in A tier. Still the best out of the original trilogy. I do value the original trilogy of Pokemon movies quite a bit highly, so it's gonna be Very, very tough to follow that. Spell of the Unknown is great. Like, I don't know why people are like so down on the NT movie when they clearly think the first movie is better, but the NT movie is definitely like worth talking about. Next up is Pokemon Forever. Now, this is where I start making enemies because this is my hot take personally. I didn't really like Pokemon Forever. I thought it was boring. I thought it was a slog getting through, especially during the middle part where practically nothing happens in the forest. But the beginning was cool, with the whole time travel aspect, and then the ending was very cool. It had a neat surprise plot twist of the reveal of who Samuel Oak is. It is great. It delivered on that regard, but I just find the whole movie kind of boring. And Celebi itself is kind of an uninteresting mythical. Yeah, he's in the world of Pokemon. Celebi is a very interesting mythical. He's the only Pokemon who can travel through time. However, the way we got to that point is just felt kind of boring. It just felt kind of sloggy at times, and Ash really did not serve any purpose at all. I think it would have been fine if it was Samuel and just Celebi. It's their story, and Ash just feels shoehorned in. So I'm gonna put this at C tier. It's not my favorite Pokemon movie. Just no, I don't like it. I don't like it as much as the original trilogy. I think this one is the worst of the original Pokemon movies. The Johto arc, basically. Next up, also Suicune was part. Also, poor Raikou. Can I just say, poor Raikou in this movie? Like, this was Entei's movie. This was Suicune's movie. Where's Raikou? Where's the Raikou representation, huh? I guess we got that somewhat in movie 3, but it's just way too much. I don't know. Or maybe it was a Rise of Darkrai, which we'll get to later. Because I had Raikou in there. Whatever, it's fine. Next up is Pokemon Heroes. Now, Pokemon Heroes is alright. It was an alright movie when I watched it. I took a break. I have a story with this. So after watching Pokemon Forever, which was kind of a slog, I took a break from watching Pokemon movies because I was like, oh, I enjoyed the original trilogy so much. Let's watch Pokemon Forever. No, just killed my interest. So I basically cut off. So I took a break from watching Pokemon movies from there, and then I got back to it while watching Pokemon Heroes. I thought Pokemon Heroes was fine. I thought it was interesting. I like how Latios and Latias were basically taking inspiration from Pokedexes. And the Pokedex really highlighted the characteristics of Latias, the fact that they can turn invisible. Well, it's fun, or make it seem like they're invisible, which is neat. Which is neat. But I think Latios and Latias were fine movies. The girl being Latias is definitely an interesting take. And Latios feels like a really badly hurt Mon in most of the cases. The fights themselves were awesome. Like, but as a story, it was fine. Ash and Misty thought were fine. In It's a B tier. I think it's a solid B tier movie. A lot of underappreciated love coming into Pokemon Heroes, and I think it's a fine movie. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. It's the start of what I consider to be the greatest Pokemon era period, especially for movies. Because following suit is Jirachi Wishmaker, which I thought was better than Pokemon Heroes personally. Because while I did find Jirachi quite annoying in like the first part, especially when it was its Mew phase of being playful, it literally hatched out of his egg and called Max some sort of weird thing. Also, Max being the central character in this was kind of felt weird because no one liked Max. To be honest, no one liked Max. Uh, thought he was annoying. Thought it was too pretentious for a 10-year-old, or seven in case. But as the movie progressed, I actually found myself really enjoying the movie, especially with the villain at the end. It was an interesting take. It was not really the first, but it's certainly one of the most interesting dynamics. I really like Jirachi. I soon to grow to like Jirachi over the course of the movie, which is a good thing for a mythical Pokemon. This is already a high standard for mythical Pokemon. The fights, the fight itself, especially when Ash rode around with the Flygon. I think that was in Wishmaker, not Heroes, because Heroes, Latios. Well, he floated around Latios a lot. But Jirachi Wishmaker was fine. It was a fine movie. It was better, definitely, than Pokemon Heroes, and I really enjoyed myself through that. Next up is Destiny Deoxys. This is going to be my underground take here because I really enjoyed Destiny Deoxys. I think it is my most underrated Pokemon movie of all time, and it is sorely in the S tier. It is action packed, it is funny, the fights were incredible. Deoxys got to beat the ever living shiz out of Rayquaza a lot. Deoxys felt like a proper like villain throughout the movie. I really loved it. It felt like a deity that it's almost undefeatable, which is very, very nice. I would really like to see a return of Deoxys in the future because, good God, that thing is a beast. So, yeah, I really enjoy Destiny Deoxys. It is by far one of the most fun movies you'll ever get to see. Really made me excited. I think I saw this as a kid, but only briefly, but getting to watch the movie for the first time in full was an amazing experience. It was some of the best, most wild reactions I've ever seen from a Pokemon movie, and that's not saying a lot. That's saying a lot when it comes to these movies. It's an incredible experience. Go watch Destiny Deoxys. If you've watched it, go watch it again. It's an amazing movie. All right, next up is Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. A fan favorite this movie is, and you know what? Call it overrated, call it mid, whatever you want. But I think genuinely it is one of the best Pokemon movies we've ever gotten. It's a fan favorite for a reason. Lucario is a fantastic character. You don't need to be a mythical in order to be an interesting character, and Lucario is one of the most interesting characters we've ever gotten as a side character in Ash's Trek. Also, it's really the first time we got to see emotion out of Ash. You know, most of the time Ash looks at a Pokemon and says, "Wow, what a wonderful Pokemon! Let me team up with you or let me catch you." No, this time they served a purpose for Lucario being there, finding its original owner, and having this whole adventure take place that really just made their dynamic so strong. Ash and Lucario felt like an actual like bond with infighting and eventual making up and eventual like good teamwork at the end. It was great. It was honestly really great. I neglected to mention one part of these movies that are a thing, which is Team Rocket, because they're never really a factor in this movie. They're just a funny side thing. This one, they actually kind of served a little bit of purpose, like tagging along and they're just having the Reggies like follow them, which is very very funny. I really liked it. Again, I really like the Guardian Mystery of Mew. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic movie. A lot of people say it's one of the best Pokemon movies, and me and myself included. I think Lucario and the Mystery of Mew is fantastic. Um, the only nitpick I really only have is the Reggies. I feel like if they had played a much more threatening role in the movie, a bigger, more threatening role, then that would serve the movie even more for me. But it really didn't need to because, good God, the movies itself is fantastic. Definitely worth a rewatch, and I would love to rewatch this movie again whenever I get the chance. So yeah, Lucario the Mystery View, fantastic movie, squarely deserves to be in the S tier. It's a great movie. Next up is Pokemon Ranger and the Temple of the Sea, and I feel like this is Jirachi Wishmaker again, but this time with a much better lead. This time it's May and Manaphy. Now, I found Manaphy really cute in this one. Like, again, me hating on mythicals, that's fine enough. That's probably a meme to me at this point, but I generally found May and Manaphy's relationship to be adorable. Literally, Manaphy is a baby. It literally hatched out of its egg, and called May Mama, and it was just so adorable. It is one of the most adorable mythicals we've ever gotten, and it is definitely one of the more tolerable mythicals. Aside from all these crap ass mythicals that we got in past movies. But the story itself is not nonchalant. I just really like this movie in terms of the relationship between May and Manaphy. Everything else is kind of cookie cutter. Kyogre didn't basically get to do anything until the last half, which I found quite annoying because it literally is the god of the sea, and you never got to do anything with it. Well, maybe Lugia as well, but whatever. Kyogre is the true water deity of the sea, whatever. But yeah, Pokemon Ranger, it's a fine movie, but it's better than Jirachi Wishmaker 100% because I can Max and Jirachi does not compare to his sister and Manaphy. So yeah, I enjoyed Pokemon Ranger a little bit better. Then that's the end basically of the Hoenn arc. Can you see? I really valued the Hoenn arc, especially in movies 7 and 8. Like movies 7 and 8 are the best, and movies 6 and 9 are okay. Like they're fine. The Hoenn arc is fantastic, and now we move on to probably the biggest, arguably the biggest arc between the Pokemon era is the Sinnoh era. We got the Diamond and Pearl movies to get through, starting off with Rise of Darkrai. Rise of Darkrai. A lot of people in my friend group really love this movie. Really, really think it's lit. It's fire. And personally, I thought the same thing. I thought it was a fantastic movie. Darkrai felt like a legit, like sympathetic Pokemon to be following out with Ash, Brock, and Dawn. It was a fantastic introduction to Dialga and Palkia as well. Their whole infighting, which caused the city to like be destroyed. It was basically war out there between Dialga and Palkia, and Darkrai has to be the mediator between these two. It's a fantastic story. Darkrai's backstory is also really fantastic. It's again, I really like this movie. You would think that I would put this in S tier from the looks of it. But the only thing I have problem, two things actually, that I have real major problems with this movie. One, Darkrai having legs. Pokemon with no legs should not have legs. Darkrai has legs in this movie, and they're tall and skinny. No. Cursed image if I ever seen one. And two is that ending. That ending made you think that Darkrai was dead. But no. Darkrai's shadow comes up, and I was taken aback for how much I'm like, no, they can't ruin the movie like this. And yeah, Darkrai was revealed to have been alive after that, and I'm like, no, I don't believe that for a second. Darkrai has taken a lot of abuse from both Dialga and Palkia, and yet it still lives. I cannot buy that Pokemon. I do not like that ending at all. I think it's one of the most rushed, worst, predictable endings in a fantastic movie, and I really thought this was going to be an S tier, but no, it's going to be a high A tier. It's still great. Like the first 2/3 of that movie, especially the whole fight, it was war out there, and it was a fantastic war. It was a fantastic movie. It was S tier easily, like 10 or 9 out of 10 quality. And then the ending kind of sucked it all out and made it to an 8 out of 10. It's great. It's still a great movie. I highly recommend it, but the ending, you would have to have a lot of patience for that. Yeah, I still enjoyed Rise of Darkrai. I still enjoyed Rise of Darkrai a lot. Easily a recommendation out of me if you want like a whole like big event happening in Pokemon. What was not equally as big though is the next movie. It's Giratina and the Sky Warrior, which is kind of a follow up, but also kind of not because it's its own story. Giratina and Sky Warrior, thought it was mid. Honestly, I thought it was mid. The distortion world looked great, or the reverse world as they call it. No, the distortion world. I'm a casual gamer, so I know that this is distortion world because that's where Giratina lives. It looked fantastic. It looked easily like a background of a wallpaper or pretty much anything. It's a fantastic visual. The only thing I find annoying in this whole goddamn movie is Shaman. Shaman is the quintessential worst mythical I have ever heard in a movie. It's just so stubborn. It's very, very unapologetic. It's a rude little effort. I do not like Shaman in this movie. I thought it killed my interest in this movie because of how annoying he is in the beginning. And yeah, I don't like, and I thought the movie itself was okay. I didn't really find it interesting at all. Even the villain kind of bored me, kind of put me to sleep. So yeah, I'm gonna put this below Forever, honestly. At least Forever, with all its boringness, still delivered on a pretty good ending. This one didn't. It showed us what Shaman Sky. That's really the only it. Yeah, I do not like Giratina and Sky Warrior. Thought it was eh. Next up, probably one of the biggest movies we'll ever get to see. Movie 11, Arceus and the Jewel of Life, or is it movie 12? I don't know. I don't know how to count. But Arceus and the Jewel of Life. This was a big movie when it came out. This one was literally on adverts everywhere. I couldn't go see it, but I know people who gone and see it and really like and had mixed opinions of it actually. Well, I watched it. I thought it was good. I thought it was legitimately good. Doesn't feel doesn't feel that big. It does feel big. I will give it credit. It does feel like a big movie because it's literal God coming down to the Pokemon world and having an interesting story. Arceus' story is good, but not good enough. It's not as good as, say, the original trilogy or the Hoenn arcs. I thought Arceus' story was fine though. It still carried the movie to me, and it does feel like a big event. And it is kind of like the follow up to Rise of Darkrai because we saw Dialga and Palkia and Giratina as well. So I like this movie fine. I think it's actually the highest out of the B tiers we have so far, but it's fine. Uh, I wish I liked it more. I wish there was a little bit more urgency when it comes to, of course, the time travel aspect and how the backstory of Arceus having those plates and having that guy, Darius, I think his name was, just uh having together presenting himself Arceus and Arceus being a legitimate threat. It's gone. So yeah, again, it's a fine movie. I enjoyed it, but not enjoyed it enough to really rank it above the original trilogy. Next up is Zoroark and the Master of Illusions. The start of the Unova arc. Well, this technically is Sinnoh. It still technically counts as Sinnoh because Dawn is in here, but this was the first Unovan Pokemon to be ever shown in a full capacity. This movie, Zoroark and the Master of Illusions. I thought it was. I honestly found the movie kind of eh. Honestly, like Zoroark's a cool character, but it's not really the best mythical we've ever gotten. Not even the best Pokemon we've ever gotten. So I'm gonna put this like right around Giratina, probably. Well, I don't find the Giratina as annoying as I don't find Zoroark as annoying as Shaman is, because all these Pokemon, these mythicals, all these Pokemon that we follow hate humans. That is the whole theme of every single Pokemon movie. I hate humans, and so I would love but this human right here, Ash Ketchum, he showed me the way that humans aren't all that bad. That is a common trope in Pokemon movies. I've come to realize in this movie, and yeah, Zoroark is fine, but not exactly my favorite. All right, next up, the Unova arc. Ugh, the Unova arc. So I already had a bad impression of it with Zora Quest of Illusions. And I love Unova. I love Black and White. And I love Black and White too. I think those were some of the best Pokemon games we've ever gotten. It's just the anime is bad, and these movies are very evident of it. So Oh, and this is like the quintessential one because I watched them both twice and I found both movies boring. It's Black and Reshiram and White and Zekrom. Or Victini and Reshiram and Victini and Zekrom. Pardon, because I forgot Victini was the mythical in this movie, and it's just a Mew clone. It's just a piss poor attempt at a Mew clone. It's also part psychic type. Duh. Yeah, I don't like this movie. Yeah, as you can tell, I don't like both these movies. I think they're the worst. I think they're some of the worst Pokemon movies. I thought they were boring. I thought they were slow. I thought they were convoluted, actually. For majority of this, the villains weren't interesting at all. It was just kind of a plot twist villain. The final fight at the end, and I really found it boring. Like I didn't like both these movies, and I watched them twice, and I just have a lower opinion of both of them when they both came out. It was not a very good experience watching both. I don't like both these movies. And to end off this slug of the Unova arc, well, no, actually, there's two movies. What am I saying? To the penultimate end, Kyurem versus the Swords of Justice. All right, so this really didn't need to feature Ash at all. First of all, I think this would have worked fine as a Swords of Justice movie instead of just shoehorning Ash in every single movie. You don't need to do that, Pokemon. Anyway, I thought Kieran versus the Swords of Justice was actually pretty good. Like, I like Kelio's story. I think proving himself to be part of the Swords of Justice under the guidance of Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion is a good story to have. Also, the fact that Kyurem is the big threat in this movie really lines up with the Univin game. So they do kind of like turn to the games for inspiration. Um, it is a good movie. I will say it is a good movie. It really showcased that hey, Keldeo wants to prove himself and is really proving himself. And when it turns to Resolute form, which is basically My Little Pony, but in Pokemon, but yeah, Keldeo transformation was actually pretty hype. I was really gunning for Keldeo to actually beat Kyurem, and when he didn't beat Kyurem, I was very surprised. You can't beat them all because Kyurem is an actual like threatening villain. I really like that, and yeah, Keldeo being a sympathetic hero, wanting to prove himself to Terrakion, Cavalion, and Verizon was nice. The fights were fantastic. They were really visually drawn and really well animated. I really liked it. I really liked it. I actually liked it more than the original trilogy, if you can tell. But I don't like it as much as Rise of Darkrai because it's special. But yeah, Kelly over the Swords of Justice. The only thing that drags me down is again Ash's involvement, which is not needed. So yeah, Keldeo was great. Next up is the last of the Unova arc. We have Genesect and the Legend Awakened. Uh, this is the first appearance of Mega Mewtwo, the concept of Mega Evolution. We saw Mega Mewtwo Y make his first appearance. And Mewtwo is female. I am Mewtwo. No, that is not my Mewtwo. Not my Mewtwo. Um, I personally enjoyed it. At least I enjoyed it, but I don't find anything um interesting about it. It's kind of a forgettable movie in that sense. Even though Genesect is an okay Pokemon, I really like the concept of Genesect. Having shiny Genesect basically be the pilot of this movie feels like a mecha, to be honest. But yeah, I like Genesect. I thought it was nice. The fights he had with Mewtwo Y are well animated, but nothing really too special out of it. So I think I'm gonna put this like B or C. I like it more than Forever, at least. I like it more than Forever, but I don't like it as much as Heroes. It's not enough for Heroes to be in the B tier. Okay, next up. Oh boy, I can't wait to talk about this era. The Kalos era. I recently watched all of the X and Y anime, and I gotta say the X and Y anime is probably the most underappreciated era in Pokemon history because X and Y is a legitimately very good show. XYZ is an amazing show. Probably the best like batch of episodes we've gotten from Pokemon. Um, the anime at least. Then the movies aren't really akin to that. Even the games are fantastic. Go play X and Y again. It's 10 years ago that they've released, and I recently played them for the first time like last year or 2 years ago. I don't remember, but like I found them to be incredible games. Like X and Y is easily the most underappreciated era of Pokemon. But the movies aren't really akin to that. Starting with Deancey and the Cocoon of Destruction. I don't like. I think Deancey's mid. I still stand by that claim that Deancey is one of the most mid legendaries we've ever gotten, and the movie is akin to that. They treat Deancey as some sort of princess amongst the Carbink, and I don't like that. I don't like that plot at all. I think it's messy. I think it's uninteresting. I don't like the fact that Xerneas. I don't like the fact that Xerneas was like pushed around to the side as the last bit of Pokemon. Yveltal being the big bad of the movie is pretty cool, but it tails and runs away when he saw DNC Mega evolve. I don't like that. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I hate this movie. I do not like it. I think it's not. No, actually, at least Zekrom and Reshiram, I could sit through it. This one, I just cannot sit through DNC and the Cocoon of Destruction. I forced myself reluctantly to finish DNC and the Cocoon of Destruction, and I do not like it. What's even worse, though, is Hoopa and the Clash of Ages. Ugh, talk about a simmering piece of cash cow material. This is just bring all the legendaries to create a movie because Hoopa can't hold a movie on its own. Yes, he cannot. Even Hoopa Unbound cannot carry a movie on its own. It is wild to think that he just had to bring in all these legendaries from past generations in order to beat itself. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like the Kalos era very well. In terms of movies, I don't like the Kalos era, but the anime and games, I could easily recommend. The movies, I cannot. Hoopa belongs in the dirt worst. The dirt worst of Pokemon movies, along with Dancing the Cocoon to Destruction. Both of these movies can rot in hell, basically. Ugh. All right, time for a good Kalos movie. You think from the Kalos arc that I would hate all these movies, but no, I actually found a movie I quite enjoyed, and that is Volcanion and the Mechanical Marvel. The relationship between Volcanion and Magearna is fantastic. I again, Volcanion hating humans again is it's a common trope, but this time I'm like, I'm sick of this damn trope of Pokemon, mythicals especially, hating humans. It's a thing. It's a common thing. Ash being stuck to Volcanion is kind of interesting, basically tagging himself again, dragging Ash along for the movie so that he feels like he could accomplish something. He really doesn't. It's just Volcanion. If this movie was just Volcanion and Magearna, this would have been an actual like very interesting movie. Like it would squarely belong in the A tier, but no, it's fine. It's still a good movie, but I would place it under Heroes, especially. It's in the B tier, especially Magearna is kind of an interesting it's an interesting partner for Volcanion. I just I just really like the relationship. Okay, it's fantastic, and yeah, towards the end the fights were fantastic, and then of course you really think that Volcanion was gonna die. This one I can tolerate. This is an ending I can tolerate. After Rise of Darkrai pissed me off. At least Volcanion surviving the explosion all the way to the end is okay. I can tolerate that. Next up is Pokemon the movie I Choose You, movie 20. This one was my favorite Pokemon movie for a long time. Is it still my favorite Pokemon movie? to this day. Yeah, probably. Yeah, it totally is. It's one of my personal favorite Pokemon movies. Just a retelling of the original trilogy. I know people are kind of sad of like, oh, Ash and Misty and Brock were in this movie. I think Verity and Soul are fantastic companions for Ash. Luxray's backstory is it made me cry. It made me cry, and I never thought I would cry at a Pokemon movie more than Luxray's backstory, but I did. Did. Um, but yeah, the whole adventure and Marshadow being a part of it is Marshadow remaining as my favorite mythical Pokemon. At least Marshadow keeps himself to the shadows. At least Marshadow didn't overstay its welcome as an annoying mythical. It really isn't. It's actually a pretty good mythical in my opinion. In this movie, this context, it's a pretty brilliant mythical. But yeah, I like Ash's again I like emotion out of Ash. And this movie definitely helps that. His relationship with Pikachu, I think, is one of the strongest we've ever gotten. It really features that bond that I've been missing for both Ash and Pikachu. Um, but yeah, it's a great introduction to new Pokemon fans again because it does have the new Pokemon instead of just the Kanto Dex. It has actual like Oshawott and Cyndaquil and Ho-Oh's in this movie, even though Ho-Oh was in the original anime. Never got to acknowledge that, but right here it did. Like Pokemon I Choose You is a fantastic movie. Also, that dream sequence of um Ash living in the world where there's no Pokemon, it's just a normal human, is interesting. It is an interesting plot, and Pikachu talking there's my nitpicks. Okay, those are my nitpicks. Like Pikachu talking, found it weird, but you know what? It's fine. It's a kids movie. At least children can interpretate how Pikachu feels in that moment with Ash. All right, next up, Pokemon the movie, The Power of Us. Originally, I found this movie kind of mid, but then I rewatched it. And brother, I had a great time rewatching this movie. Pokemon the movie, The Power of Us, is phenomenal. It is a phenomenal movie. Easy S tier, but probably at the low of S tier. But I think this movie deserves attention because it's an ensemble. It's not just Ash's story. There's like 5 protagonists in this movie, or 7, I guess. But it's an ensemble cast and they all have their motivations and they all have their reasons for wanting to you know uh try to make good on their promise in the city. It's a great story, and it's a really good and they each get individual spotlights for each of their respective screen times, and they all feel natural, their normal progression throughout the movie. Zeraora was a really, it was a fine mythical. Again, it's another Pokemon. I hate humans. It's every other movie these days. But yeah, the Zeraora is not the most interesting mythical in the world, but just the fact that we got so many protagonists other than Ash is just a marvel on its own. And the movie itself is it does a really good job tying it all back together and featuring, the big fight at the end, which is the big climactic battles at the end are super great. Super great. The villain's also pretty interesting. Like, I like it. I like this movie quite a lot. It is better than Rise of Darkrai in a lot of sense. But yeah, it's not better than the two best Hoenn movies and I Choose You. I don't rate it highly as those, but this is a legitimately very good movie that I would love for you guys to watch again. It's an incredible. It's incredible. Next up, we come now to the final 3 movies. We first off with Detective Pikachu, the live action movie. Probably one of the most commercially successful movies that come out in the past 4 years. 5 years, actually. This movie came out 5 years ago. Jeez. Yeah, Detective Pikachu. Um, it is based off the game. If you've ever played the Detective Pikachu game with Ryan Reynolds, it is basically off of that. And I haven't played the game personally, but I could see elements from the game like standing out quite a lot. And if I do that, and if I do play the game, I would definitely enjoy it as much as the movie. And yeah, it is a very enjoyable movie. It is a very, very enjoyable movie. Torterras being portrayed as giant islands is fantastic, and Mr. Mime, always like a controversial Pokemon, but in this movie, he's actually really funny. I like the furry textures on all of the Pokemon as well, especially on the Ludicolo and Pikachu, especially. But yeah, this movie is fantastic. I wouldn't go into too much spoilers because I would like to heavily recommend this movie to check out for yourself. I think it's better than the original trilogy, but not as good as like Keldeo. I would put this right here. Like it's still an 8 out of 10. It's still like a really good movie. It's a really good introduction again to fans who want to get into Pokemon. This is probably another movie to like introduce you to the wonderful world of Pokemon, and it does really good job of doing that. But also like as a movie itself, it's great. It's a love letter to all Pokemon fans. It does a really good job, and yeah, Mewtwo once again being the villain. I kind of like that. Speaking of another movie that has Mewtwo as the villain, Pokemon, the movie Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, or the remake of the first movie. Doesn't really add anything new to the original movie. Thought it was just a 3D cash in at the success of Detective Pikachu and Pokemon as a whole. Also, Sword and Shield was coming out at this point, so the hype was there in 2019 when everyone was raving about Detective Pikachu, and then this movie had to drop on Netflix. I thought it was fine. Nothing too special. Thought it was fine. Maybe I'll place it right here at the top of C. Nothing much else to say. It is just a rehash of the first movie. If you enjoyed the first movie, this is just a 3D remake. It's fine. And last but not least, Pokemon, the movie 23, Secrets of the Jungle. Now, this got no promotion. This got no promotion for Pokemon. This just casually dropped on Netflix, as far as I'm aware, honestly. But yeah, this is the Zarude movie, and it's basically Avatar, but for Pokemon. The movie Avatar, not the Last Airbender. The one with the blue people. Um, it's basically Avatar but Pokemon. But I gotta be honest, I thought this one was one of the best Pokemon movies we've ever gotten. I'm gonna place it solely on the S tier. And I think it's worse than Mystery of Mew, but I liked it more than Destiny Deoxys. Yeah, I really enjoyed Secrets of the Jungle a lot. You had a guy kill him. You had a murderer in Pokemon, guys. They added a murderer in Pokemon. Isn't that surprising? Yeah, Zarude is a fantastic character. Basically, Tarzan as well. It's kind of a Tarzan-esque story as well, with a boy wanting to be an animal, but he's really not. He's just a human. Ash being in Ash featuring in a much more okay role than he did. Um, we got a couple of things like Ash revealing his dad, which we never get to see. Like again, who is Ash's dad? But he casually drops this line, and I'm like, okay, where does this go? Where are my Ash father theories at? But yeah, overall, the course of this movie is just a fantastic story, a great use of characters. The villain actually has a motive, and again, murders people, actual people in his backstory. Uh, and yeah, everything about this movie worked. I think it would have worked better if the Zarude died. Again, I want Pokemon movies to have death in there, and if Zarude had died, it would be an S tier movie. It would be the best Pokemon movie of all time that no one ever talks about. Yeah, I really enjoyed Zarude. Coco is also a great like side character. I really enjoyed him. So yeah, that was every single Pokemon movie ranked. Thank God I got to do this finally. I wish Pokemon could have 25 movies just to have a nice round number for them to finish on. Uh, it is a wild ride. especially. And what do I think of all these movies collectively? I thought they were very inconsistent with that you could get a great movie and then you could get a crap movie the next. And I wish Pokemon would bring this back, honestly. Maybe when Scarlet and Violet gets enough love, enough popularity. Because Sword and Shield definitely didn't. uh, Scarlet and Violet hopefully gets the notoriety it gets in order to have a movie. You have them make a movie around them. Like, for example, you can make a movie about Ogerpon. You can make a movie about Terrapagos, even though the anime currently is doing that. But yeah, but not necessarily have Ash again as the protagonist. I feel like he's run his course. Liko and Roy definitely are interesting characters you could build off of as protagonists. Maybe not shoehorn them in every single movie, but as far as these movies are concerned, like the one constant presence is Ash Ketchum, aside from Detective Pikachu, but everyone has Ash Ketchum in some way or shape or another, and you know what? God bless to Pokemon for creating some fantastic movies, but also kind of mid movies. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Hopefully you'll enjoy it, and maybe I'll make some more movie-based tier lists in the future if I get around to making them. And yeah, thank you all for watching. This has been McCoy signing out. Goodbye, everyone.